welcome. Good morning, everyone. I guess I'm Irma Alvarez with Training and Organizational Development, and I'll let Ronda introduce herself.
I'm Ronda Mitchell. I worked with Irma in Training and Organizational Development, and we're excited to be here with you today to talk about building your resilience muscles.
Okay, super. So our objective for today is to increase our understanding of resilience and give you some tools. We like to give you tools, not just the ideas and the concepts, but what can you use and what can you bring along with you. And we're going to be focusing on sustained performance in workplace, and you're in the workplace and in life in general, because these skills, although we're going to tailor them, or maybe we're going to use more examples about the work situations, obviously, and you can use these for your life in general. So we're going to share the 7 pillars to strengthen your resilience muscles, and then we're going to talk and really give you some opportunities for some self-awareness and reflection, because you really need to develop that in order to build your resilience. And then we won't let you get out of here without making a couple of commitments for how you can apply these changes starting today. Okay. And the outcome, I think, is the other part of that slide, is that you will have more knowledge to make life adjustments to reinforce your commitments and practices. And we call it start, stop, and continue, right? So, well, let's do some continue, the things that you're doing that are supporting and promoting your resilience. Stop, let go of the things that are not helping you stay resilient, and start any new practices, new habits, new commitments that you think are going to help you. And we're going to take it easy, baby steps, because this change is something that you can practice for a lifetime, for the rest of your life. But we're going to begin with some baby steps today, and leave you empowered and encouraged to move on. So some quick ground rules. Please stay engaged. This is a webinar, but please turn off your email or text or whatever so that you're here with us. And with this work, it's really important. I mean, one of the main things about resilience, or one of the skills for resilience, and one of the ways to promote your resilience, is to practice mindfulness, to practice being in the present. So, so think of that while you're here. Enjoy the webinar, think about it, use this time wisely. And we lost your screen share, Ronda.
Yep, I see that. I'm working on it.
Okay.
Working on it.
And let me know if you need me to go on. Okay, so stay engaged. We'll ask you to use the chat box and participate in the activities as we move throughout. And the webinar is being recorded. I did start that. So just so you know, it will be made available on our Learn and Grow website with any tripping and all. And what I will share with you, because I am pretty sure I have it here on my screen, is our, where did it go? Our handout for today, which just gives you the, the pillars that we're going to be sharing with you today. It's not a super complicated handout, but it has the 7 pillars that we're going to be talking about, and then it has some resources for you to use. So that, I think, made it fine on the chat box. And
I stopped the share temporarily, and then I'll re-put it up in just a second as soon as I can figure out what's happening to my screen.
Okay, sounds good. And let me know if you need me to try to take over here. I only have one screen, but I will go ahead and let you know, and Rhonda's going to find this image soon, because it's her favorite image, and of a tree. I'll describe it for you so you can close your eyes and I'll tell you. The wind does not break a tree that bends. So resilience is really learning how to bend so that you don't break. Okay, so it's about remaining flexible and adaptable. Even when the wind is blowing really hard and really strong, you bend and adapt your limbs to the air, but your roots are keeping you grounded. Your roots are keeping you very grounded. So that's the image that we want to share with you, and that's why we have used the tree theme for the slides, and those will come up really soon. So let me go ahead and move on. Use the chat box and tell us, what do you think of when you think of resilience? When you hear resilience, what comes to mind? What do you think of? And just pop your replies in the chat box. Being flexible, rolling with the punches, persevering, coping with things, keep going, being persistent, being adaptable, bouncing back. That's a big one. Above and beyond, I love that one. Staying in the now, yes, yes, presence, mindfulness, being present. All right, seems like I'm gonna have to try to take on here with the face day by day. So I will try to do my screen share, which I only have one screen, so it might minimize my ability to connect with all of you, but I will rely on my trusted partner, Rhonda. Okay, so I'm gonna do the screen share, and Rhonda, will you debrief these issues? Future matters, overcoming the future matters, is that what you mean, Joe? Tell me when you think of resilience, pine trees in the wind moving and the wind blowing but not breaking, indomitable. Ooh, love it. All right, I'm gonna let Rhonda take over while I figure out how to screen share here, all right?
Okay, so we have a quote from Catherine McEwen, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's the author of Building Your Resilience. And she quotes a resilience like this: an individual's capacity to manage the everyday stress of work, remain healthy, rebound and learn from unexpected setbacks, and proactively prepare for future challenges. So we thought that was pretty kind of robust definition of resilience. And we're focusing primarily on resilience at work. I can see your PowerPoint, Irma, very good.
Okay.
But again, this is a life skill, resilience, and you'll take it wherever you go and to whatever situations or stressors that come your way. So it's selfishly, we're wanting you to use your resilience here at UF to be the most resilient UF employee ever. But what's nice about this is that you can lean on these skill sets. You can use these muscles anywhere.
Yeah, what I love about Catherine's definition, and by the way, we gave you the link to see more about her work. There's even a resilience TV channel on YouTube, so you can get a lot more information on this. But she has specifically studied resilience at work, and what I love about this definition is that it's not only about managing stress and healthy rebounding, learning, but it's also the piece that I really like about her work is that you are also proactively preparing for future challenges. So it's not a reactive approach to resilience, but really very proactive, very much what can I do so that I learn from that and I can be stronger in the future. So I'm gonna go back on the slide because I know Rhonda really likes this image, so I wanted to share that with you. Resilience is learning how to bend so you do not break.
Yeah, I love that picture.
I know you do. I know you do. All right, so moving on. Let's start looking at the elements of employee resilience with talking about why resilience at work, right? So we really spend a lot of time in our workplace. So, but we also want to be the best that we can in our work environment. As Rhonda said, maybe we're doing this selfishly for UF, but I think that any of these skills you really can transfer to your personal life. Strengthening our ability to handle our jobs effectively will absolutely impact our overall well-being because of the time that we spend at work. So, so being able to be resilient and using these skills for increasing our resilience at work is going to make us better at just handling life's stressors and remaining resilient in life. So let's practice it at work, and then you can transfer these skills to your personal environments. Three skills or elements of the framing that you need to have for thinking, the mindset that you need to have for thinking about resilience. Okay, the first one is that you need to master stress. clearly handling your stress. And we're going to talk in more detail about it, but looking after your health, so eating well, exercising regularly, getting more sleep, but mastering the stress so that you have the physical capability to fulfill your job. The second one is adapting to change, which also comes with the territory, right? So like today, responding positively to any setbacks or obstacles, reframing to adjust. So instead of like, oh my gosh, this is awful, we need to cancel the webinar because Zoom is not working, so we'll just send out an email that this webinar. No, you roll with the punches, you adapt. It hasn't been perfect, but we're moving forward, right? And then being proactive, you know, what can you, change and challenges are guaranteed. So learn from this experience. The circumstances might not be exactly the same, but what can you do so that whenever something similar, or maybe even not exactly the same, but you know, you're challenged with having to make quick decisions, adapting, all of that, what can you learn from this so that the next time you can position yourself and be the best that you can to weather the storm, right? So these elements are not static, right? And resilience itself is a very complex and evolving state, right? So it's not, I don't think you ever like, I've reached my resilience maximum. No, you can always get better at this. So just know that we're continually addressing it through various channels. And this is just kind of the frame that we need to set for it. All right, so
I like
Rhonda.
the statement, resilience is a journey and not a destination,
Yeah.
and comparing that kind of to the concept of building your resilience muscles, right? So if you think of it like, you know, if you start to get in shape and you start to work out and you're getting stronger and you're building your muscles, you don't get to a point where you go, okay, I'm strong as I want to be, and just stop working out after that, because we all know that you'll retrograde, right? You'll fall back. So you have to continuously work at that to keep that same level of strength and muscles that you want to build. So same thing is with resilience. You constantly have to work at it for it to stay strong.
All right, here you have the 7 pillars, Rhonda, go for it.
I still see the, there we go. Maybe it's my video is going slow or something. So yeah, so we're going to be covering these particular, what we call pillars, and you can think of it kind of like the pillars that hold up a building or hold up your resilience factor. And we're going to be going through all 7 of these today. So we're going to be talking about living authentically, finding your calling, maintaining perspective, mastering stress. We talked about that a few seconds ago. Interacting cooperatively, staying healthy, big one, and building those networks.
And you should have these on your handout. And one thing that I'm just going to, I know it's going to come up later, but I'm going to say it now. Even though, you know, you have these 7 pillars, and in this image, they're all exactly the same height. I think that throughout life and in reality, we don't always have the same, the tanks are not always equally full in all 7 of these pillars. So what I love also about this model is that maybe when you are a little bit overloaded on your capacity to master stress, if you can then build networks to support you, then that can give you, that can balance the tanks. So that when one of them is a little low, you work on the other one, and then that brings your overall resilience total to a better middle ground. So if one of these pillars is not working at its best for you, then think of what you can do to support the others until that one can get back up to where it needs to be. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and they definitely crisscross, right, Irma? So you'll find, you know, you may be talking about building networks, and you see how that relates back to interacting cooperatively, or you might be, you know, so talk about living authentically, also cross over to finding your calling. So although they stand separate to hold up the resilience building, they do interrelate and crisscross each other. You'll see that as we go through.
All right, so let's talk about the first pillar, living authentically. Living authentically is all about holding on to your personal values, your strengths, having emotional awareness and emotional regulation. So let's look at some aspects of living authentically that will be helpful. I love this quote from Brené Brown. So authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we really are. So, but as social animals, we like to belong and we like to be accepted. And really our survival depends on it too. So, as much as we want, but we need to honor who we are, right? So living authentically is all about recognizing who you are inside, and letting that come out and show up. But it can be a little scary because you also want people to like you, right? And so it's establishing this balance of acting in accordance with knowing ourselves and then acting in accordance with those inner drivers. Otherwise, we cannot live our life fully. So the vulnerability of being authentic can feel scary and risky. But when there's congruence between who you are and how you show up in the world, then you can act with both autonomy and authenticity. So the first thing that you want to do, consider in order to live authentically is really to know your values. You have to start there. So these are some values that maybe resonate with you. So look at these, and I also wrote other in there because maybe some of your core values are not listed here, but think about them and check if your actions align with your values. Probably out of this list, this would be best, and there's many values. I mean, this is just a sampling, but if you can choose 2 or 3 that you think are really important to you, then with those 3, think of actions that you take in your everyday life and think, are you really practicing this value, or are you in situations that don't allow you to practice this value? Because if you feel torn about making a choice or a decision, if you're confused about it, or if you are it just is not sitting right with you, it is very likely that one of your core values is being challenged. And sometimes the situation can challenge more than one of your values, or maybe be in accordance with one of your values, but not with another one. So understanding your values will help you clarify what is not sitting well, or really totally sitting great with me now in this situation. So think about your values and then see how they align with the choices that you make in your life, and the actions, and maybe even the people that you meet and work with. And if you can't clearly discern your values, because this is hard work, this takes a lot of time. You know, we're giving you a lot of tools today, but this takes time. Another way to think about this, other than just self-reflection and looking at your own choices in life, is also maybe looking at people you admire. Someone that you respect, someone that, as I say, when I grow up, I want to be like someone else. Think about them and try to see what values they embody, what values they exhibit. And then maybe that'll give you an indication of the things that you also value in your life. So start doing that reflection. And recognize that when your values and your actions are not aligned, you are probably going to experience feelings. And so that's going to be the second piece of this element of living authentically, right? Developing your emotional intelligence. And how in touch are you with your emotions? Because your inner voice talks to you through your emotions. So can you name your feelings? Like, do you know what you're feeling and what it's called? Are you angry because you felt disrespected, or because you did not speak up? What is making you angry? That someone else did something that made me feel unseen or unvalued? Or did I not respect my own dignity by not speaking up and not saying, you know, my truth or how I felt about it, or how it affected me? Feelings often come attached to physical signs. So recognize also if you how you express them, right? So how you feel them, you know, does your jaw tighten? Does your stomach, you know, start, you know, do your palms and your hands get sweaty? Or, you know, or in happy feelings, right? So how do you just start smiling and just laughing at silly jokes, even though they're not that funny, because you're just in a really good mood? So recognize those feelings and how you express them. And then think about also how you regulate and process them, right? So identifying them and just thinking about them, but how do you manage and express them? So you can really strengthen as well as stress or weaken a lot of relationships by the way that you express your feelings. So it's both the self-regulation, but also the expression of the feelings. So think about how you express your emotions, how you share them with others, and then also internally, as I said earlier, if you inflict self-esteem or self-confidence injuries to yourself, that's also going to hurt. So think about how you express the emotions and how you process them internally and how you share them externally. And trust your inner voice. And then finally, another piece of this is recognize and celebrate and practice your strengths. So know where you're doing well, the things that come to you naturally. I mean, this is also great for living authentically, because when you know what you enjoy and what is satisfying in life, and you continue to build on those strengths, and take advantage of those talents that you have, that also gives you impetus and encouragement to continue to move forward. And then you get more successes because these things come to you naturally and effortlessly because you have a strength in that. So continue to recognize your strengths, know what you're good at, and continue to build on that. And recognize when you're in these like states of flow, you know, whenever you go into these spaces where you're doing something and you lose track of time in a good way, not because you were not because you were surfing the internet, but because you were doing something at your work that really, you know, meant something to you. Recognize that and use that to give you indications of something where you're good at and where you're enjoying and where you are in a state of alignment with your strengths and possibly your values, right? So recognize that and know that we all want to add value and feel valued in our work. And identify those moments so that you can continue to build on them and repeat them more frequently. So I also want to remind you that your identity is not fixed, right? So we change through life. We're changed by experiences, and that healthy authenticity is an ongoing process of discovery. So the fact that today you realize something about yourself that maybe you thought was not really you, think about that and then say, well, what is this telling me? And maybe you do need to make a change and accept that maybe your values have changed by the challenges and the experiences that life has given you, and just make a commitment to cultivating those authentic relationships, right? All right, second one is finding your calling. So finding your calling is about having purpose and a sense of belonging, and then aligning your work with your core values and your beliefs. So do you know your reason for being, right? So this is a lot of personal work. And then you bring that to your workspace. But what legacy do you want to leave behind? And what is maybe your personal mission statement? And then how do you align that with your work contribution? So recently I read an article in The Alligator of these two UF graduates who as kids were doing their hobby was doing video production as kids with little cameras and maybe with their phones. But then they got a degree at UF in journalism, and now they are working in, they have their own company, and they are doing videography and video production for, well, one of their clients happens to be political candidates in town. So they are able to use their strengths and their purpose and their calling to make a contribution, putting it all together. So I mean, that just builds your resilience, because you feel like you're in alignment with your talents, with your values, with what you want to do with your time. So think about that. And you know, not all of us are. I think Ronda and I are very lucky to work at HR and in training and organizational development, because you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Ronda, but I think for both of us, doing training is really aligned with our calling. We both believe in growth and learning and helping people experience that for themselves. I experience it on a daily basis in this job. Even just doing research for this webinar was a great growth opportunity for me. So, but if you're not in a place or a situation, not all of us have the luxury of finding that. Connect with maybe the purpose of the institution, right? So for all of us, being at UF is a great blessing, right? I think it's easy to connect with the purposes of growing people, growing the future, growing our students, the research, the service mission of the university, everything that this university does for the state of Florida and for the world. So connect with your work and realize what you do and what your contribution does and how it matters to the overall impact that you are supporting and enhancing. And then, you know, consider whether or not your personal values are aligned with your work unit's values. And if they're not, use that again as information, because that can also rub against your ability to contribute on a daily basis. So think about these things. As I said, we're going to be doing a lot of self-reflection today, but recognize when those things are not in alignment, and then we'll give you skills to start practicing those and make the choices and make the decisions so that those are in alignment. So the third one that I'm going to cover is maintaining perspective. And that's really about what I think about in maintaining perspective is having different lenses in your camera bag so that you can literally change your perspective, right? So some things you really need to zoom in, and other things maybe you want to use a wide angle lens, and choose to move from. It's really all about how you frame it, right? So if you're focusing too much on something that might not be as encouraging or positive, then, you know, zoom out and take a bigger picture at everything that's beautiful around it. So move from self-criticism to self-compassion, right? Rather than criticizing yourself, it's like, well, you know, this is an area that I need to learn or develop or grow in, or and switch the lens, right? Move from I can't do that to what could I learn that I can do this better? What do I need to learn to do this better? So switch your frame and switch your lens. Move from this is so scary to, well, this is going to be exciting. You know, it's scary to try to run this webinar when, you know, things are not working out this morning, but, you know, let's see what we can learn, and we'll do our best. And it might not be perfect. I let go of perfection because it might not be perfect, but we're gonna learn from it, and it's gonna be exciting. And it sure was. My adrenaline was really high this morning.
Oh yeah.
And you know, from this is huge. Like I can't even think of this. To this is gonna be my first step. This is the direction I'm going in, and this is what I'm gonna start working on right now. Okay, so just look at things from a different angle. And remaining positive is a precursor to mastering stress, which is where Ronda is going to take from now. But
so just want to
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and take a breath. Are there any questions or comments at this point? We're about halfway through of the 7 pillars. If not, we'll keep going. So mastering stress. everybody right now is feeling stressed. I don't think there's anybody on the planet that is not stressed right now with what is happening in the world. So this is like I think it's one of the big pillars. And so ways to do that is, one is you having your work and your life routines kind of down pat. So you have a protocol, you have a process that you can go through to help you manage those stressors. And then also focusing on a healthy work life balance. All right. So I know probably all of us could work 24 hours a day if we allowed that to happen, but we're a whole person, not just an employee. And so there's a balance there that we have to make sure that we maintain, and taking the time, for relaxation, taking your vacations, because you have to step back at times so you can recover, right? You can't be on full bore all the time. You will burn up. And so where's that balance at? That's part of the skills you need to work on for this particular pillar. So if you go to the next slide, Irma, I love this quote. I wish I knew who said it, but whoever said it is, a diamond is a piece of charcoal that handled stress exceptionally well. And that's so true, because we know how diamonds are formed naturally in the earth. There's a lot of pressure for a long time, but handling that well comes out looking like this beautiful diamond. And so that's what we want. There's good health, there's good stress, and then there's unhealthy stress, right? So we're talking about managing that unhealthy stress and how to use it and manage it in a way that it pushes you toward that diamond state rather than in opposite direction, right? So things you got to know. You got to know what your stressors are. What stresses you out? Everybody's different, right? We're all different people. We have all different personalities, all different behavioral styles, different. So what stresses me out might not affect you in the same way, and vice versa. So questions you need to ask yourself about as you analyze what your stressors are, again, that unhealthy stress we're focusing on, is what do you do to maintain your own personal health? You pay any attention to yourself at all? Right? Many times we'll get our hair's on fire all the time and we're working push, and we ignore things that are happening in us until a point where it becomes so obvious that now we're in the hospital, or now there's a breakdown, or now there's a big problem because we were ignoring our own personal well-being. Another question you need to ask is, how are you managing your time and your workload, right? Is it all consuming and eating you alive? This is not good. You can't maintain this. That's not sustainable. Where's the balance at? You have to find that. Another question is, do you know and set and protect your personal boundaries? Many times people, honestly, I'll just say it, use each other to obtain certain goals and such, and working together and collaborating, and that's fantastic. But when someone is abusing somebody else for their own personal gain, we all have to have our boundaries, right? We have to teach others how we are to be treated. And so what are those, right? Do you know what those are? Are you open about those? Are you honoring those? Questions you need to ask yourself. And then the last question.
Sorry, Rhonda, let me interrupt for a second just to highlight that one of the Keep Growing webinars that we recently did, Kara did one on setting your own boundaries. So if you want more information on this, there's a webinar on Keep Growing that can give you, and she even created a sheet that you can do to kind of think about this, because these things take a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
But just letting you know that that's another resource that you can go if you want to think a little bit more about your boundaries.
Absolutely. And then that last question, basically, we've said it before, that healthy work-life balance, right? Are you ignoring your family? That's not good. Actually, I have a colleague of mine who has taken on quite a bit of new responsibility here at UF, and I've had to warn him. I'm like, hey, does your wife even know what you look like anymore? And he's like, I know, yes, I understand what you're saying, and I'm taking strides now to manage that. So it can. The work, what we do, can be all consuming if we allow that to happen. So this is a great cartoon. I mean, it's so true, isn't it? Like, I don't even know where I don't know if I'm coming or going, or I meet myself coming in, going out. I don't know what's going on. And that we can feel that way. That's a real, honest, crazy. So you have to ask yourself, you know, is that you? And if so, what are we doing about it? So right here, I would like to pause this a little bit and just say, what's stressing you out today? I can speak for Irma and myself. It was the technology this morning that was stressing me out, and it's still stressing me out because it's not working right on my side over here. But you might have something else. So again, you don't have to put it in the chat if you don't want to. I can almost guarantee you what's stressing you is probably stressing some others. So you'd probably be speaking for others.
Well, I'm uncomfortable now because I am teaching from home right now, which we have not done in all this time. So because of the issues on campus, and I only have one screen here, so I'm having trouble seeing the chat. So Rhonda, I'm totally relying on you to let me know if there's any questions that I can help address in the chat, because if anything came in while I was talking, I could not see it.
There is a question that actually someone's asked. They're asking for the link to the webinar you mentioned that Kara had done.
Okay, we can look for it later, but it would be on our Keep Growing site.
Yeah, about to say Keep Growing. If you go to HR's Keep Growing site, there's a whole list of.
So you go to the HR website, and then training and development, and then Keep Growing in there. And there's also actually these have been posted on Spotify too. So we have the Keep Growing webinars are posted,
on YouTube
and
also.
maybe YouTube too. So so just if you have those apps, you can also access them through there. Sorry that we cannot, like normally if I were at the computer, I would look for that, put it in the chat box, because my thing is limited here and I don't want to mess up the presentation. But feel free by all means, because of today's technical challenges. Well, we would offer this any day, but especially today, feel free to email Rhonda or me if you want more information on anything that we discussed today. All right.
Another question, and honestly, I haven't looked at that handout in so long, I don't know. Someone's saying there's only one page on the handout. Is that true?
It's only one page. Okay. That's it. It's very short because we wanted you to really focus on the conversation and what was happening here. But again, if you need any more resources, let us know. I think the handout might even have it has the link to Keep Growing. I'm pretty sure the
I'm
link
scared
to
open growing. A file because the last file I opened, everything freaked out. So
I
can look at it after.
I'm the same. All right. Any other questions? And if not, do you want to move to the next
sure.
pillar or anything else in the chat box? Okay.
This is the interacting cooperatively pillar. And honestly, personally, this is my weakest pillar as far as resilience. So this one resonates with me. So the key points of this one is that you seek feedback, you advise others, you give feedback to others, and provide support. So if you can think of it kind of maybe like a circle where you're receiving feedback and acting upon it, and then you also give feedback to others so they can act upon it. So the next slide, Irma. All right, so the three big components of building this particular resilience pillar are basically what I just said. You're seeking feedback and advice from others. You're learning constantly. You're acting on the feedback provided after you analyze it. And then again, offering that same support to others. So when you talk about personally seeking feedback, this helps you promote adaptability. Because many times, especially, this is me speaking personally, I'm a peacock, and I thrive on praise, right? I thrive on positive affirmation and applause and all that kind of stuff.
I'll interrupt you just a second.
Sure.
So for those of you who don't know why she's referring to herself as a peacock, if you have done relationship strategies with us or the DISC behavioral styles, it's the I style, which is often associated with the peacock or the parrot. So that's why she's calling herself a peacock if you haven't done DISC.
Sorry, I assume everyone's taken relationship strategies. If you haven't, you need to. It's a fantastic class. Yeah, it's a great instructor, great instructor. So again, if I'm not getting that naturally, just organically out there, it's important for me, and it's important for anybody for growth purposes, to seek it out. Go ask people, how am I doing? How are things coming along? You know, what do you think? Am I on the right track with this? Am I using my skills well here? That can be really scary, because what if they come back and say, no, you're horrible, it's terrible. You know, so this is something you have to just learn, that whatever the feedback, positive or possibly negative, you can use for your own personal growth and getting you more adaptable. So you can build that muscle, right, of being able to interact well with others cooperatively to get things done, no matter what the feedback might be. So, and then acting on it. You know, many times you'll ask somebody their opinion, and if you don't like it, you go, okay, well, you know, whatever. But it could be actually valuable insight if you would reflect, you know, stop a second and try to look at it from that particular angle. Now, remember, not everybody's feedback is on the same level, right? So you have to be discerning here. You want to seek feedback from those people that you believe are honest and objective and have your best interest at heart. Because unfortunately in the world, there are people that don't do that or aren't that way. So you need to be able to kind of filter certain things, because going off and acting on some feedback that coming from someone who's vitriolic or you know, is trying to harm you in some way, could be detrimental to you. So you have to put on your discerning hat with people, and this is how that reflects on the whole network thing. Seek out people that are positive, right? Seek out people that are valued to you, that you can learn from. You can use their expertise, you can use their insight, you can use their knowledge to improve you. And again, going back to working those strengths, find out, we all have talent, right? There's not a person on this planet that's not talented in some certain way. What is yours, right? What is your talent? What is your strengths? You probably have multiple of them, and using those to assist others, right? So once you're receiving the feedback, right, once you're acting on it and things are moving in a positive way, you need to share that wealth. You need to be able to pay it forward, right, to somebody else. And as you have this cooperative kind of interaction, going back to the person that actually supported you, right, what can you provide for them? So it's a mutual thing, you know, you're seeking feedback from them to improve something for you. What can you offer them, right? So that there's some mutual benefit out of it. Because what we can do sometimes, sometimes not even realizing it, you kind of suck all the good stuff from somebody and you drain them, right? And you're not giving anything kind of back. That's dangerous, because one, you can become over-reliant on that person. And if that person ever is no longer available to you, now you have a big old gap because you relied so heavily on that person. Another danger is that they might just get tired, right? If they're constantly kind of mentoring you or supporting you or coaching you, and they're not going to get anything in return, they might get a little resentful. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to damage that relationship. So being sure that you're giving back is kind of important. Another thing sometimes we'll fall into, and I've seen it, I see it in actually my family at times, is something called martyr syndrome. And it's this idea where you help others. You're a very giving, caring, supportive person. You help this one and this one and this one, and you advise this one and you coach this one, but you don't accept any support back. You feel you can stand on your own. You can do it on your own. Yes, these people need help, but not me. And somehow you start to get this kind of weird mental thing going that you feel so good about yourself because you're so strong and you don't need help. And that's weird. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs feedback. Everybody needs support. So nobody is a rock. And if that's where your mind is, I would encourage you to kind of sit back for a second, go, wait a minute. who are the people in my world, and if they're not here now, who can I find that will benefit me, right? That I can learn from, that I can tap into, that I can become friends with, colleagues with, however, so I can be the best that I can be, right? And then with that growth, who can you assist as well? So what goes around comes around. It's very important.
I think that also goes back to the to that piece of vulnerability that you had in the previous bullet, right? Asking for help can feel a little dangerous also, because it's like, oh, well, I'm not perfect, I don't have it all together. But recognizing those places where people can help you, and putting yourself out there and saying, you know, I don't know, I don't have all the answers.
And that goes back to living authentically.
Authentically, that's
right?
exactly where I was going, you know. So it feels risky, but that's how you really show up in the world as an authentic person. And there's a great possibility of connection when you have that authenticity. So connect that also with the people that you are offering this kind of trust to, and that can really build on your strength, your relationships, and absolutely your resilience.
Absolutely. All right, next slide. All right, so now we're on to staying healthy. I really enjoyed doing the research on this one. I actually learned some things I really did not know, but now I do, and I tell people about them now. Maintaining a good level, a healthy level of health, right? We're talking about physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, just staying healthy, because it's very hard to function well if you're sick. It's hard. It's just flat out hard. And here's a good quote. It says, if your body's not right, the rest of your day will go all wrong. So take care of yourself. And I would expand that quote. I would say, if your body's not right, the rest of your life is going to go all wrong. We have to take care of ourselves, right? So, and it's funny how we don't think about that sometimes. We're just movers and we're shakers and we're productive and we're getting things done and we're ignoring ourselves. And then we expect ourselves to work well. You know, what other machine do we have that expectation of? Not many, right? If your car starts acting funny, you're going to take it to the mechanic and get a checkup on this car to make sure it's performing as it should. If your AC breaks in Florida, you aren't going to last very long. You're going to get that thing addressed right away so it can work and do its job. Same thing for us, right? We need to be taken care of. We need to address what issues we have. We need to be proactive and maintaining health and so forth, so that we can then selfishly be the most productive and effective UF employee that we can be. All right, so there's a few points or elements that make up staying healthy. And so the first one there is staying motivated when you're stressed out. Yeah. Okay, I know, Rhonda. We're all should be taking care of ourselves. I've heard it 1,000 times. I completely agree with you, totally. But it's the motivation part, right? It's when what are you going to do when you're tired that day? What are you going to do when you've got so many deadlines you don't have time, or you say to yourself you don't have time, or when you're really stressed out and you just don't want to do it? That happens. So the truth is, we just need to know that's kind of happening, and be proactive about that. So, because again, being unwell, besides it just affecting your energy levels and the way you think about things, it's also going to eventually, it's going to be a detriment to your overall ability to perform, which an ultimate of the end result of all of that attributes to your lack of resilience, right? So if you don't work about on staying healthy, and a great way to get started with that is basically taking small steps. So making small shifts each day is the way to kind of get this going. So from now on, I don't want you to worry about anything about tomorrow. I want you to think about, what are you going to do today, right? Just today, to move yourself in a more positive, more healthy way. So, I mean, it could be you just drink an extra glass of water today. Just today, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself, right? Or maybe you're going to eat a smaller piece of that chocolate bar, or you're going to take the stairs instead of taking the elevator. Just today. Don't worry about tomorrow. right? And then tomorrow, when tomorrow becomes today, same question. What are you going to do today? And then after a while, all those little days add up to weeks, add up to months. And you try and look behind and you'll realize you've now established a new healthy way of behaving that's now sticking because you took the tiny little steps, right? When you first look and say, oh, I'm going to lose 50 pounds and all of that, you think about doing that and you go, oh my gosh, that's such a big elephant. How am I going to eat this whole elephant? You're going to do it one little bite at a time, right? So what can you do today? And if you guys want to just chat down there, if you've already thought of something that you know flat out right now, today I can do this, go ahead and share that. That might give somebody else an idea. My big thing, I know it because Irma has seen me, is I don't get up and move enough, right? When I get on my computer and I'm going to town, I'll look up and, 6 hours have gone by and my legs are numb because I haven't moved at all. So I know that's my one thing I strive to do and will strive to do today is move more, especially in this new environment where we're kind of always online. So the next step is managing your energy dips. You are going to have energy dips, right? You can't be on full bore 24 hours a day. So what's good about this is that you want to kind of assess how you go. Like, what is your pattern, right? Are you a morning person and not so much in the afternoon, or maybe vice versa? I am not a morning person. I'm married to a morning person, and that makes things quite interesting sometimes. He's up with the birds and just happy, and I'm like, give me some coffee, don't even talk to me until I've had my 2 cups of coffee, right? So kind of think about what your rhythm is, and then take maybe those big rocks or those energy sucking activities and stick them during the day where you're most energetic, right? And then leave the light stuff or the easy stuff when you know that you're going to kind of have an energy dip. And when that does happen, there's things you can do to just help manage it. You can slow down, you can just kind of relax, you can breathe, take those breaks, get up, walk around. You've got to build in time. If you're busy, you've got to build in time where you can just go, okay, that was good. We got that done, and let yourself recover a little bit in order to be able to go back to that again. Another big one, this one blew my mind when I started researching, is the whole sleep factor thing. I know me and my certain age, sleeping nicely through the night usually does not happen. I'm either too hot or too cold or something's happening, tossing and turning. But if this is a consistent problem with you, if you're consistently not getting good quality sleep on a regular basis, we need to address this. This is like a top priority right now, because this can lead beyond just being sluggish and tired and forgetful, because it contributes to stuff like high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, premature aging, weight gain. Good, no, we don't want that to happen. And it's all kind of stemming from your sleep, because your body is not your body is not restoring itself, right? Your body is not recuperating when it should be, and that's a problem. So if that is you, I would really suggest you kind of take a harder look at that. Next slide. Okay, so these are the last 2. So when we make a decision that we're going to work on this pillar, right? We've made a decision now. Yes, we're going to focus on taking care of ourselves and the work-life balance and managing all of that. It's not going to be smooth sailing onward. I can already guarantee you that you are going to run into hurdles. You're going to run into stumbling blocks. It's not if they come, it's when they come. So knowing that now, what are you going to do about that when you hit those stumbling blocks, right? When you say, no, there's not enough time in the day now, I can't go for that walk. Or, oh, it's raining outside, darn, I can't get my walk in today or my bike ride in today. Knowing that's going to come, the way you're feeling about that, or issues that kind of get in your way, what are you going to do about it? Go ahead and start thinking about that now. So the rain situation, okay, it's raining. So now what am I going to do? We'll take a walk inside the building, or maybe do some aerobics to a video, or I don't know, But if you can think about that now, then when those come, you can just go, oh, I got a plan. I already know how I'm going to manage this, right? And then the last one, kind of going back to being cooperative and building networks and all of that, is seek help from others to help you remain accountable. So if no one knows you're on the diet, if no one knows you're trying to get healthier, then it's real easy to cheat, because who knows? No one knows, right? But if you say, hey, colleagues who know me real good, or family, this is something I'm really striving to do. I just help me along the way. If I get like, I don't want to do something, maybe encourage me a little bit or something like that. And they'll do that for you because they care about you, right? They want you to be the best that you can be. So if I've started this walking thing, or getting up from my desk and walking around, or jogging in place or whatever, and Irma's right next to me, and she noticed, Rhonda, you've been there all day. Have you gotten up at all? That can help me stay accountable to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I know people who've used the accountability buddy system, and it's been really helpful for them to stay on top of things. And again, choose someone who is doing it not to make you feel bad, but to be supportive. But just like check up on me unexpectedly, like come, just send me a text. It doesn't even have to be anyone who's like in your immediate space, and these days, Lord knows, there's fewer people. But just send me a text and ask me how I'm doing with this new commitment that I've been trying to practice. So
folks have already started putting in the chat here some great ideas. Someone's saying they want to take a dance break. Someone says they need to drink less caffeine. Lizette says that she has an alarm on her phone that goes off every 2 hours, and it reminds her that she needs to get up from her desk. That's awesome. Using technology for good stuff, right? Walking with her dog more, right? It actually has been nice being home, because I can actually take the dogs out more frequently, and that I do enjoy that. Get off social media. Yeah, that one's a energy drainer, I tell you. And then Sarah says here that there's an ergonomic program for your computer from EH&S called Work Rave. Thank you for that. It's free, and you can schedule all kind of breaks and rest breaks and exercises and all that cool stuff. So thank you for that, Sarah. That's a nice tip. Is there anybody else who would like to say what their first little step might be today? What you can, soon as you get off this conference call, what can you do possibly to move yourself in a healthier way for this particular pillar? Or maybe there's some other pillars you've resonated with that you go, you know what, I'm going to take my first little step toward that. If you have that, just type that in the chat. People love to hear what you're going to do and those positive steps you're going to take. Somebody says they have something called Time Out, which is similar to Work Rave. Great. Lisa says she's not going to eat chocolate chips in the afternoon. All right. So you just get those in the morning.
I'll share what my new habit has been over, changing perspective and change my lens. There was one day when I woke up and I said, this COVID is, going to take a little longer until we settle this situation. So I did find, I used to go to the gym, so I did find a local group that teaches virtually, and also there's a little bit of a community, so it's not just like running an online video. It also helps me with my accountability, because it's like they're there, they're checking up on me.
Yeah, they know if you're not there, right?
I see other people when we're on Zoom, and at least I wave at them, and there's a little bit of a sense of community there. So that's one way where I've also kind of supported all of these pillars, and as well as my own health and well-being. But the other habit that for me has been great is I've started doing a little bit of meditation every day. And just like Ronda said, I just said, well, let me just carve out 10 minutes every morning. I started with a course that had like seven-day course. And it's like, I'm going to carve out 10 minutes every day in the morning. So I know that I have, so I just wake up, it's 10 minutes. So it's not a huge time commitment. but I've been able to stick with it. And now it's been, I don't know, the app was telling me I've been doing it for over 100 some days, and now it's become a habit.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think it's been a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You do them every day, they become habitual, and then that's part of your new world. And that's part of taking care of yourself, being resilient. All right, so we're on to our last pillar. This is called building networks. And that's developing and maintaining the personal and professional support networks you need at home and at work in order to perform well in your job. And this will definitely smack back to interacting cooperatively. And everyone needs a network. And here's a good quote. And I love this quote. I love this. This is so true. I'm going to have it printed and put it up on the top of my cubicle. If you want to go fast, go alone. There's no one going to drag you down, right? You don't have to worry about anybody else. Just go. But if you want to go far, you've got to go with others. And I just went, oh, that is so true. That is so true. Think about anybody that you admire who has obtained some level of success, right? The person, as Irma said, you want to grow up and be like, right? That person got there with the help of a lot of other people, right? They did not do it alone. It's impossible to do it alone, and do it sustainably, and to do it at that level. You've got to have others. And this is what we're talking about as far as what we call network building. So everyone needs a network, and you probably organically maybe have a network to a certain degree. You have your circle of friends, right? Your family might be one of your networks. Your faith community might be one of your networks. Hobbies, you may have a group there so far. But what we're talking about is building a strategically built network designed for your benefit. And it will depend on kind of like where you're at in your life, right? We all have different goals at different times. So for an example, you know, if you're planning to start a family, right, you might seek out people that have already had children, or pediatricians you might want to pull into your network, or, you know, how to raise kids at home during COVID people, and learn from those people and kind of bring them together. Or maybe you're planning on applying to that promotion that just opened up, and you want to make sure you kind of have the best chance at that. Maybe you want to talk to some people that are already in that particular field, or get some training, talk to some trainers about what the skill set really should be to be effective at that.
So at work, you want to seek out, sorry, Rhonda, but just, you know, to reinforce that, you know, at work, you also want to seek out people who are maybe going through that period of life, or maybe, you know, maybe you're thinking of changing from training to accounting. I don't know.
Right. Who knows?
Well, then make friends with some of the people in GBAS, you know, and then start using that network to, you know, so what do you like about her? How, you know, how can I connect with people, right? So start figuring out what your plans are, and then include in your network the people who can give you that sort of support or information. Or going back to the starting a family as an example, then also, you know, like, who are the people at work who are making this function for them well, and they're also figuring out how to, you know, do at home teaching, or what, you know, with this COVID situation. So look out for the people who are in that similar circumstance, and then build your network, because they can give you a lot of resources and information. And then be proactive about this, right? So think about the plan, the where you're going, and then figure out who you need in that world and in that space, to start sharing with you what they've learned and what their journey has shown them. And then you can use that. And then, as Rhonda said, you can also tell them, well, you know, this is what I've learned, and you can start that cooperative.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, your network will not work as well, and it definitely won't last as long if you're not contributing back to it as well. So again, you're not just sucking all the knowledge out of a bunch of people for your own selfish benefit. What do you bring to the table? So it's got to be mutual there. So always keep that forefront in your mind. And understanding that it's quality in your network building over quantity. So your network doesn't have to be huge, right? And again, you're not trying to build one network that will fix all things. You'll probably have a smaller and multiple networks designed for particular purposes and goals that you're having in your life. So the questions you can ask yourself for who are the best to invite into this network is, what key functions do you need support in right now? Like, what are you working toward? What's the goal? Who would be the best people I should knock on their door, right? Again, back to that mutual thing. What can I bring to the table here? How can it be a benefit to them, for them to be part of my network, right? What's in it for them? People are nice, but sometimes life gets in the way. So if they can't find how you're an asset to their network, they may not last that long in your network. And again, always investing in those relationships, going back to that interacting cooperatively, living your authentic self, all that kind of stuff kind of comes into this. Irma, you said one time that you consider networks kind of like a plant, and that it's a continuous feeding and watering that goes on there if you want your plant to live and grow and be beautiful. Same thing with networks, right? How are you taking care of the people in those networks will show you how they're going to live on and thrive.
Yeah. I often say that anything in life that is worth keeping requires maintenance, and your friendships and your relationships and your network is one of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, the next one. And again, the power of those networks, besides, for your own benefit, is that having those people around you, those positive, supportive people that have their, your best interest in mind for them, and they want to see you succeed and all of that. What's nice about having that is when those winds start blowing, remember that, I don't know if you got, yeah, you saw the first image where the tree was bent over. When the storms come, and they will come, no doubt about it, having that network helps kind of keep you grounded there, so you don't go flying off and, kind of swaying with as the wind blows. So it's nice to have them there. Okay, last one there is, again, just like before, is avoiding that over-reliance on either certain networks or particular people in the certain networks. Again, same thing about interacting cooperatively, is that if they all suddenly are out of your network, that could leave a gap for you, right? And if you overuse without that mutual reciprocation, again, they might get tired. They have other things they're trying to pursue. They might just run out of time. So just try to make it balanced as far as what you get. Make sure you're giving that back. So reciprocate to support your network health.
So that covers the 7 pillars for today. And I guess we wrote there as homework. But if you have anything that you want to share right now, by all means, but certainly take this.
I'd love to hear. Is there any, share. Is there any one particular pillar that you went ding, ding, ding? That's me. That's what I got to work on. Or maybe maybe you noticed a few that you're like, wow, maybe all of these are a little short right now. I need to work on. So if you have anything that resonated, share it, because this is where we love to hear. Marlene says she's learning how to bend without breaking. Absolutely. That's kind of a definition of resilience, right? And we took a seminar a while ago, and I remember the lady was talking about resilience there. And I kind of stole the idea a little bit for this, is that we're all resilient, right? You wouldn't be here still if you weren't. I mean, just think about all the stressors that have gone on in a very short amount of time. But you've had other trials in your life. I'm sure there's things that happened years ago that you made it through, right? So we all prove to ourselves that we're resilient. It's just, what condition are those muscles currently in, right? The stronger you are, the easier it will be to get through these things without feeling so stressed out. I feel like you're going to break. We don't want our tree to break, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Rhonda. I think we all have the capacity to increase our resilience. So don't be discouraged if this seems like a lot. Just as we said earlier, just start with baby steps, and then see which of these areas you can start working on, and just add to it a little bit every day, and compare. Like maybe take notes today of what made sense with you for you today, and compare in 3 months. Make commitments. We're going to ask you to share those next, but make commitments and then see what progress you have made, and reevaluate it in maybe in a month, maybe next week, maybe, depending on what you're setting yourself out to accomplish, and just check in with you, and maybe find that accountability partner and say, this is one area that I think would be important. Don't grab everything at once. Focus on 1 or 2 things, and then start working on those, and check in with yourself, check in with an accountability partner, and then look back on the progress and how that is making an impact in your quality of life at
Absolutely.
work and at home.
Folks have been typing some stuff in here. Irma, there was quite a few, so I'm sorry if I missed yours, but someone was talking about the healthy pillar, working on the sleep, mastering stress, allowing myself to go a little slower, asking for help, and not thinking I have to do it all. Very good. Boundaries, the healthy lifestyle, realizing sometimes we don't feel the stress, but it's happening to us and we need to learn to relax. The martyr thing resonated with Vicky, and just monitoring your self-pain. Yeah, Marianne says, as a mom, wife, and a professional, I don't always put myself first, and that's understandable, right? And maintaining perspectives. So thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Yeah, Marianne, I think it's Marianne, right? I can't see the chat box, so forgive me, but I think that's a tough one, right? We think that it is selfish to take care of yourself. However, if you're not taking care of yourself, you really have nothing to give to others. So it's actually very selfless. It's just a different way of thinking about it, but it's actually very selfless, because if you can't take care of yourself first, then you're not going to be able to give to others. If you feel exhausted, drained, then there's nothing else to grow. So we would like to finish today. We're getting to the end of our webinar, and we definitely can entertain any questions or other comments, but we would love to hear from you one main insight or takeaway from today's webinar, or maybe even one commitment that you are hoping to make, and we won't be your accountability partners, but maybe just putting it out there helps you be.
What's your first step? What's that first baby step?
So share an insight or a takeaway, something that really resonated with you, and maybe if you want to share a commitment that you're willing to make.
Lizette says she is going to work on regulating her emotions. Marta says she's going to say thank you first thing in the morning for a new day. Marlene says finding my calling and make it work at work. Juanita says look up that ergonomic program from EH&S. Good job, girl. The fast far quote resonated with me. I need to slow down sometimes. Yeah, I love that quote. That is so true. I'm going to work on setting my boundaries. Learning to step back when I start to feel upset and breathe. Meditation daily. Yep.
Yeah, we didn't talk about breathing, but and Rhonda and I, in preparation for this webinar, attended a webinar where somebody actually did a breathing exercise, and both Rhonda and I said, yeah, I mean, it's a great tool, but I don't know that we want to incorporate it in our webinar. But I strongly encourage you to look into that, and I think one of the main reasons why this breathing thing is so important is because we force our body to stop that fight or flight response that automatically happens when we fear, and the oxygen and the response of the body is, oh my gosh, get ready to either fight or flight. When you breathe and you take a few minutes to just inhale for a count of 4, and maybe hold your breath for a count of 3, and then breathe out for a count of 5 or 6, you are telling your brain, I am in control here. You're in your body. I am in control here. You're not calling the shots here. And it also really helps you center in what's happening and the moment and what's happening right now, instead of like being in a reactive mode. So I encourage you to look into some of that, how breathing helps with resilience and mindfulness, and just kind of stopping and getting a hold of things right now. It can also be a great, for those of you who said regulating emotions, it can also be a great thing to model for others. When you see that you are, and you know, definitely at work, when you see that a situation is maybe testing your boundaries and testing your resilience, just, you know, just taking a minute and breathing deeply can let others know, I am responding like a responsible adult, and I need a minute to gather myself.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's quite mature. You know, we talk about that in communication confidence a lot. It's like, if you know, you're just not in the wrong mindset right now, or you're really angry, maybe now is not the time to have that particular conversation, or maybe now is not the time, to be able to step back and breathe and, say, you know what, I think we should talk about this later, or let me sleep on this, or something like that. Perfectly professional and responsible.
Rhonda, do you have that quote that we heard about maturity and emotional intelligence?
Oh yeah, this is a brilliant quote. The definition of maturity is the distance between, the distance between an event and your reaction. And I just sat and let that sink into my brain. I went, that is so true. Right? Something happens and then we just react to it. We just go crazy. That's an immature reaction. But a mature person has enough, whatever it is, to whatever happens, let's breathe, everybody. Let's just take and think a little bit first, and then prepare our response or our reaction to that. And I just thought that was great. Lizette wants me to repeat that. Let me see if I can get it right. The definition or the sign of maturity is the distance between an event and your reaction. We need to tell that to all these politicians nowadays. Everybody just back up and breathe for a second. Goodness gracious.
All right, everyone. Ronda and I can stay around for a few minutes, but we are almost at the top of our webinar here. So here are the resources. You do have them on your handout, and yeah, so you have some activities there that you can use, and information on stress at work, as well as Catherine McEwen's book on building your resilience. And then remember that here's the Keep Growing site, and we have a lot of resources there. That's where the Boundaries webinar is also available as a recording. We also have at UF the Resilient Gator program that is handled by our Communications and Wellness department here in HR, and they also have some great resources. I don't know if anyone from that team is joining us today. Is Yusuf here or anyone else from that group? But they do awesome work too. Of course, UF also has them, and through them you can connect to the mindfulness groups and other ways of building resilience. And then we have the Thrive at UF program. It's also administered by Training and Organizational Development. Has a lot of these courses on many of the things that we've talked about in terms of managing priorities and delegation, understanding your emotional intelligence, communication, relationship strategies. So a lot of these courses can also help you, with that whole self-awareness and personal growth, and then you can use those skills to continue this journey, because resilience is a journey, not a destination. So today we hope we planted some useful seeds, and we encourage you to just think about these things and pursue other resources. I am more than happy to, you know, support your growth and your resilience building. So feel free to reach out to me or to Rhonda if you have any questions. And Rhonda, do you want to say anything in conclusion?
I wanted to thank Mara Peterson. She goes, thanks for pushing through the technical difficulties of take 2. Because I think she was on the first one.
Oh my
And now
gosh.
she's on this one. Oh, Lord. No, I just appreciate everybody hanging in there with us. And we had a much fuller class this time. And so I hope that, again, it's like Irma said, that you take advantages of some of the concepts, you know, use the resources that we have here. We have quite a few at UF. And then go and just do great things. We hope to see you in another class.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Stay resilient. And thank you for your time. And enjoy this gorgeous day and great weather.
There you go. I'm loving it.